All right, today on the Prosperity Practice, I have a very special guest. She is 25 years old and she has her own business. She's an entrepreneur. Her name is Madison Hetherington. And there's a few reasons why I'm pretty excited to have Madison on the Prosperity Practice with you. First is she is the daughter of one of our clients that have been working with us for quite a while. Her mom's now a colleague of mine, Kelly. And Madison has been in this material thinking to results and mindset for a while. But what I love about Madison's story is about what she's done with it. At 25 years old, she has started her own business, is winning awards, and just your huge impact that you're making in your community is very impressive. So I'd like to welcome you here and thank you for joining us to share your story.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on.
So talk to me about when you first got introduced to thinking to results. Obviously, it would have been through your mom. Where were you? What were you up to back then? It was quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, I need to think back to when I first. So I think my business was a few months old. I think maybe 6 months old. And I feel like so much of this work I was kind of already doing naturally, or not even naturally, but just I've always been into self-development. So a lot of this work I've already kind of been doing without even knowing. And then I feel like taking the course, it really just created like the systems and the processes to make sure like I'm implementing these so that they're sustainable. But yeah, like I think my vision before this work and my vision after this work is like a complete 180. I think that's one of the biggest things is just, and I'm so grateful that this work came into my life at the time that it did, with my business being so early on. I think it completely changed the trajectory that we're on and that we're going to continue to be on.
So tell us about your business. So Propel Marketing, what is it that you do? How do you help your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Propel Marketing established almost 2 years ago now. It'll be 2 years in January. And our main service is social media marketing, social media management. So that's like our key service that we offer. We also do websites and branding and videography, graphic design, but social media marketing and management is our really like bread and butter of the business itself. So our big mission is to basically help business owners, businesses grow and propel through branding and marketing, through the services that we're offering. So that's really how we're able to have an impact, is by, looking at the strategies that we can implement with social media marketing and how can we grow these businesses? How can we help them grow their team, expand through the service that we're offering? And I believe so strongly in what branding and marketing can do that I think, this is the solution to propelling local businesses and then ultimately our community as a whole.
And I find something that's I noticed about your business is that you only work with businesses in your area. So maybe you can tell us about that. And you also represent one business of its kind in its industry. And I found that really interesting. So can you share a little bit more about why that is
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
working for you?
So one of the first things I did, and this was actually something that a mentor of mine really recommended, is how important it is to have a strong why behind your business and have a really strong mission. And when you're first, I went to school for business, so that was one of the things you do, is like have a vision statement, have a mission statement. But this mentor of mine really kind of like dug that into me of like, you need to have a really strong why, or what's the point? Like why do people want to work with you? So in doing that, we really sat down, and I had already had the vision statement and the mission statement, and it was like propelling CK through branding and marketing. So propelling my community through branding and marketing. But we really, really dug into that. And the book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. I read that, can't recommend that book enough. And that really talks about how important it is to know why you're doing what you're doing, what the impact is, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think that's so important. The book talks about how, when you're in this this process of selecting a business to work with, a lot of, the intuition of your gut instinct of what business you want to work with, a lot of the times comes back to the why. So if you feel connected to the why, if you feel like you resonate with what this business, the mission of this business, you're often going to pick that business over another one. So, in a roundabout way to answer your question, we have a really strong why, and that's helping propel local businesses to ultimately propel our community. So in doing that, if I look at what our why is and what our mission is, if we're really, wanting to make that impact, I think it's important that every single thing we do reflects that and make sure to support that. Otherwise, you're kind of, phony in that sense. If every action step that you're doing isn't supporting your why, are you really dedicated to this mission? So, in doing that, if our mission is to propel Chatham Kent, I think it makes sense to solely focus on Chatham Kent and building my community and the local businesses in it. So, as a kind of a token of that commitment, we wanted to solely focus on Chatham Kent businesses. So we turn away any businesses outside of Chatham Kent so that we can only help Chatham Kent businesses, because we say our mission is to propel Chatham Kent. We need to make sure everything we're doing supports that. So that's a really big piece of why we've been Chatham Kent exclusive. And then, to kind of touch on that piece of only working with one client per industry, that's just because when I was starting my business, I thought about, okay, I'm starting this business from scratch. This business can be exactly or whatever I want it to be. It can be everything I want it to be. And I thought about the values that I have as a person. And one of them is loyalty. Like anyone, my friends and family that knows me knows how loyal I am. So it would feel inauthentic to not integrate that loyalty into my business. So one of the things, that was one of the first decisions I made, is that I'm going to only work with one client per industry, so that, I can promise loyalty to all of our clients and it prevents any conflict of interest. It just kind of feel icky to meet with one real estate agent and then go in turn work with another one, knowing that they're competitors, and giving, it just would feel icky in terms of like the strategy and all of that. So that was one thing that we did right away, is, making sure that we're only working with Chatham Kent businesses, to make sure that we're backing up our why, and then to really integrate the value of loyalty with only working with one client per industry.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so what's your, how have you had to deal with turning people away? Has that been something that you've needed to learn and develop as you move forward, or has it come quite naturally and easy for you
Yeah, I
because
think,
you've got such a strong why?
yeah, I think because it was something that we established right from the get-go, it was almost a boundary established right from the
Mhm.
get-go. So it's one of those things that we haven't even had to really work on, because everyone that knows our business and our brand knows that we are Chatham Kent exclusive and knows that we're loyal to every single client. So sometimes people will, come to us and say, hey, if you end up, parting ways or the contract ends and they don't renew, can you like reach out to me and let me know that you're available to take on this new in my industry now? And it's kind of created this hype. Like I've kind of liked the way that, not only does it really support our mission and our values, but it also builds this, hype to work with us, and the it increases the demand to work for us too.
Yeah, that's great. So you started this business a few years ago, and then at the same time, or relatively the same time, you got your hands on Thinking into Results, which is a program that can have you quantum leap your business, your bottom line, your money, your impact in the community. So I mean, there's no doubt, I think, speaking to you, that you would have been successful. What work like mindset does, and mentorship in a program like Thinking to Results, is it provides, or it gives you the tools to
Mhm.
create a bigger business faster, less effort, using your mind and really focusing on that. So tell us what happened when you got into the program, with your business just being a few months old. And you said it helped you with create that big vision. You already had a big vision, but what happened for you? Like, how did you pivot once you got your hands on this?
Yeah, I would say my goals definitely changed. So I remember when I first started my business at the beginning of the year, I had like no pulse at all. Like I didn't know if this was going to flop or not, but I set a goal. I wanted to do $200,000 in revenue our first year. So that was like, and I felt like that was a scary goal at the time. I felt like, oh my gosh, like, can we do this? Like, do I really want to put this on paper? Because then we have to do it. So I felt nervous with that goal. And then, getting into this material, I quickly realized like that's actually a very attainable goal and probably a small goal. And then, being in the material, I don't think it's a coincidence that we ended up surpassing that goal by 50,000. So, just that alone, the fact that we surpassed what felt like a stretch goal to me by 50,000, I think that definitely correlates back to the work I was doing. And then, fast forward to this year, we've now doubled our revenue from our first year. So we're only ending year two, and we're going to double our revenue, from the first year to the second year, which is like those numbers, like to double and like, to grow by 100% is crazy when you think about it in terms of like your logical mind and everything. But I think when you dig into this work and you expand your vision, it's amazing how things fall into place, opportunities, like kind of open up, and it really is possible to like have that quantum leap. And I think that's the best way to describe kind of from the start of my business to where I'm at now. Like it feels like I'm a different person. Like it feels like I've quantum leaped. My team as individuals have quantum leaped. Like it is really amazing. And I definitely owe so much of that to the material.
That's so good. Did you always have a team or did you start off on your own?
So very quickly I grew a team. Yeah. And I wasn't, again, it was kind of just like, the best way to describe the first year was alignment. Like I really didn't know what direction it was gonna take. I thought maybe I'd be like a freelancer and kind of just have this business that I was, managing people's social media marketing and local businesses, and maybe I'd have assistants, but I didn't really know what this was gonna look like. And it kind of just as it rolled and as it continued to grow, I kind of just looked at the opportunities and ran with it. Like if an opportunity aligned, like I figured out a way to make it work. And I think with this material, again, like that was really impactful because I was thinking big the whole time. I wasn't thinking small of, it would be safe if I just was a freelancer. And, no, I was thinking big picture. I'm going to invest this money into a team because, 2 years from now, I'm going to be able to have a way bigger impact than, if I was just a freelancer. Thinking about, how many businesses I'd be able to help myself versus if I can just teach other people how to do this work, we're able to multiply the impact we're able to have. So that, the work here that we were able to do was like, just really thinking about how do I multiply my impact? And we built a team very quickly. So my first hire was the first month of business, and then hired an intern shortly after that. That intern promoted to a social media manager. I hired 2 more people that summer. And then now we actually just had 2 more people start this week. So I think now we have a team of like 13.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I have to count because we just hired a few more people. So I need to know what our new total is, but it's grown a lot. Yeah, our team's grown a lot.
That's super impressive. And you mentioned the logical mind. So if someone from the outside world is looking at your business and what you've grown in the last couple of years, Madison, they're like they might warn you, you're growing too fast. You're like, and I don't want you to accept any of these. So as I'm saying it, it's like,
Yeah.
I've noticed that because people aren't used to 100% growth after the first year. They're not used to a company hiring their first employee in the first month. And then, by the end of year 2, having 13 employees. I understand you're also in a new office space
Yes. Yes,
that
this is
you've
our new
opened.
office space. Yeah.
Yeah, like a physical space. And like, to the outside person that's looking at you, they might think, wow, she's risky, or perhaps they're saying she's brave. How do you deal with other people's opinions as to your growth?
Mhm.
You're in a small town, there's like people definitely are watching you. So have you had to deal with that? And what do you say?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I'm very stubborn and I'm very strong-willed. So I think people are a little bit cautious with presenting this feedback in general, to be
That's
honest.
awesome.
Like,
Earmuffs, as I say. Put your
pardon?
earmuffs on.
Yeah, earmuffs on.
Yeah.
But I think the first thing is, I definitely have people whose opinion I value, but I never would take kind of the feedback from someone personally if I don't actually want the results that they have. So,
Bingo.
if there's someone that I really admire the life that they've built, and then that's a different story. I probably would, think about their impact or their feedback a little bit differently. And I have like select people that I do really, really value their opinion because I want their results and I want the life they've created. So that's a little bit different. But if someone's giving me an opinion and I don't actually want the life that they have, then I think it's kind of irrelevant. I think we have different goals and different views on life. But I think the biggest thing is to look for proof. If someone says, you're too young to have a successful business. Okay, well, have other 22-year-olds, I was 22 when I started my business, have other 22-year-olds built successful businesses? Yes, I wouldn't be the first. I think looking for proof is so important. And that was a big piece in changing my beliefs. because
Yeah.
I had so many beliefs around, I needed a certain amount of experience before starting a business. That was originally my game plan of like, okay, I'm going to graduate from school. I'm going to get a good job for 2 years. I'm going to get experience. Then I'm going to start my marketing company. But I had a really warm lead on my first client. And I thought, you know what, this is my shot. This is the moment, even though on paper, this isn't what my plan was. I think I need to run with this. And kind of looking at what beliefs serve you and kind of changing your beliefs. And a lot of those were around, feeling like these societal pressure that I was too young to be successful, or, I didn't have enough experience to be successful, or, I was too young to have $1 million business. And I think these were all things that I had to kind of look for proof of other people doing these things, because I don't think anyone's special. I think if someone else can do it, I can do it too. There's definitely privileges involved for sure there, but I think, with most things, if someone else is doing it, it's just proof that you can do it too. And that's how I've looked at a lot of things. And especially when it comes to outside opinions, that's the way I've looked at it is this opinion, has someone else done otherwise? Okay, great. Then I can do it too.
Yeah, that's so good. I often talk to clients about poking holes in their beliefs. So, like understanding, does that belief serve me? If not, let's poke holes in it so that we can see that it's actually false and find evidence, like you said, towards that supports the belief that you want to hold. And if you don't find evidence, because we know we don't need the evidence to believe it, then that is the proof that it's you that is the person that creates that evidence. So, if we think of some of the most important inventions like Edison, the light bulb, there was no evidence that he could find that incandescent light was possible. So he would become the evidence of that. But he knew that if he could see it in his mind, that he could hold it in his hand, as Bob Proctor says. So really leaning back on the laws of that I agree with you. Evidence to change beliefs is so important. It's great. One of the reasons why I love watching documentaries of people's lives, successful people, reading their biographies.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love what you said about, yes, proof can be good evidence, but you don't have to have it. Like sometimes you can be your own inspiration. And I think that's a really interesting approach that I haven't really thought a lot about. Like I'm normally like, okay, if I'm thinking about something that I want, let's look for proof. You'll see how someone else did it. But I love the idea of using yourself as inspiration and your own ideas as inspiration. That's awesome.
Well, it goes back to the idea of really when people say, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
And that there's a gap there, right? So if you can only believe it when you see it, that's not the definition of faith. Faith is your ability to see it in your mind first, so that you can, to believe it first in your mind so that you can see it in the physical world. And it goes back to a true understanding of who and what you are as a spiritual being with these mental faculties, and that you can create the image in your mind. And when you really know, and I think you will agree from thinking the results, when you understand the transmutation of energy, that it goes from an idea and manifests into the physical form. When we really truly understand that, then we can use our imagination to come up with an idea that no one else has done before. And that's where the genius lies, that's what inventions are. And Napoleon Hill calls that our creative imagination in his book, Think and Grow Rich, right?
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. One of my mentors actually, what kind of to speak on what you were saying there, is he always says, you'll see it when you believe it. So you'll like believe it to see it, or whatever the alternative is. He always says, like you'll see it when you believe it. You got to believe it first, or it's not going to come. And I think about that a lot. And I share that with my team a lot when it comes to building this vision and this kind of direction we want to go together.
So one of the questions we get often in our success society is like, well, then how do I believe? Which brings us back to the stories, the evidence, like finding proof that if they can, you can. Is there any other ways that you talk to your team about believing in themselves, or in your mission and your vision that you've got for the company, or what they're up to as far as belief?
Just so I'm understanding the question, how do I like instill the belief in my team?
Yeah, or encourage them to believe the beliefs that are going to serve them in their own role. Are there any other tools that you have them use or you use as a team? So one of them you mentioned is to find the evidence, the stories, the proof that supports that belief. But is there anything else that you do with your team to help them believe?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things we do is every Monday morning team huddle meeting that we have, I always share our vision. So it's almost like an affirmation. And I say it in present tense. So the one that we always say is Propel is the first choice premium marketing company, because that's what we want to be and that's what we want to strive to become. And then I also say, um, just kind of regarding like, we are obsessed with providing impact and growth for our clients through branding and marketing. So I just always remind them of our why and kind of like who we want to be. And I think just being really open and clear of the vision. So I will, at the beginning of the year when I'm setting my goals, I make sure to share them with my team to hold myself accountable, but then also let them know how they fit into this. And then I have them kind of do the same thing. So I have them set their own goals for themselves to share with me. Cause I'm like, I want to know, what's your vision and how can this business support you, as you continue to work here. So that's one thing, is just making it super clear of what our vision is and what we're working towards doing. And, making sure they feel a part of it, because they are a part of it. This is just as much their thing as it is mine. Another thing we do that's kind of fun is we celebrate small, like, or any milestone at all. So what we do is, if we have a goal, I'll buy a bottle of champagne and we'll put on the front in a sticky note, pop when XYZ happens.
Love
So
it.
we do that sometimes with like big clients that we want to attract. And I'll buy a bottle of champagne and say, yeah, pop when they become our client, or pop when, we hit this revenue mark, or pop when, Shayna gets promoted. And we kind of do these things that make sure to celebrate the wins, because I'm such a busy person and I'm very growth oriented to the point where it's like, okay, done. What's the next goal? So that's something that I've even used for myself to be like, okay, Maddie, stop and celebrate these things, and also make sure your team's celebrating these things, because I think they need to see us celebrate things too. Because, even though that might be okay for me, to just like move on to the next thing, I don't think that that's fair to the team. I think they need to like, have a pat on the back, as they should, because they're, working so hard to build this vision. And I think it's so important to like celebrate all of the wins. And then it's kind of like a fun way we like manifest our goals, and just kind of picture ourselves popping the
I love
champagne.
it. So I see like you have like a row of champagne bottles over there with sticky notes, and I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've got some
cool.
in our fridge. Yeah. We've
Yeah.
got no shortage of champagne over here.
What a great idea. And it really, it's like not a matter of when or like if it's going to happen when you attract that client. It's like when we do this, we pop this champagne. So,
Yeah.
like you said, it's really bringing it into the physical form. Very cool. I know team is super important to you. I can tell by your own social media and how you share and just the way that you've attracted new team members. Uh, w- Outside of, sharing the why with them, the vision, you've shared now how you celebrate with them. What have you found to be really important things that you do or ways that you're being to create that team culture or that culture within your company?
Yeah. I think gratitude is a huge thing, like making sure they always feel appreciated, because, I think it could be easy to get caught up in it all and forget how, your team helped me build this. And I think it's so important to have gratitude. Like, that seems super simple, but just, be appreciative. And, if someone's ambitious, like have, so someone's just trying to get in. If someone's super ambitious, like make sure to reward that ambition, and through promotions. And and I think what's important too is asking your team, where do they want to go with the business? What's their goal? Do they want to oversee um different people? Do they want to take a leadership role? And I think just, as a new business, the nice thing is the sky's the limit. We can kind of create whatever our dream business looks like. So if they want to be a leader, why couldn't we make space to make that possible for them, and making sure that they feel like they can grow with the company? That's been super important. And I hire to make sure that, I'm hiring people that I would want to grow with the company.
That's huge. It sounds like you're hiring from that goal achieved, not like looking at where you are now and where you're going. You're actually hiring
Yeah.
from that goal place. which is huge. I'm just for our listeners, like, I'm not sure, that may not totally land. Like, it's a very different perception. Often people will hire an immediate need rather than going and saying, okay, our goal is to attract 10 new clients this month. So in order to do that at the beginning of the month, I'm going to hire these people in anticipation that that's coming. Most people will say, okay, well, when the 10 clients come, that's when we
Yeah.
hire. It's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can definitely speak on that right now because I'm actually like in the thick of that right now. So I'm excited to maybe touch base in a few months and let you know how this goes because right now I'm kind of in the scary part of it. I just hired 2 new people and they're going to be training for the next 3 months, essentially like onboarding. But then after, come February, they're going to be ready for 5 accounts each. And that's kind of scary to me as, someone that's just investing this money into paying them and training them and all of that. But, I'm making space for the clients to come. And then it kind of lights a fire under me to be like, okay, I better go out there and sell. I better go out there and show the value we can offer and get new clients. Because you don't want to be in a position where you're turning clients away. And that's kind of where we've been. It's been, we've been at capacity. So even though it's a little bit scary, I'm like, holding strong in the vision and what the goal of all of this is. And then, being open to attracting those new clients in because I've made the space by hiring 2 new people, but easier said than done. Like it is scary. I will say you have to have a lot of faith, and, believe it to see it. But, yeah, I know it's all going to pay off and I'm excited to kind of report back in a few months, be like, okay, the stress was worth it. We've attracted this massive client now.
And here's the thing, the stress is just there because really a lack of the remembering of what you know to be true. So, and you've even said it here. And so this is where like the repetition, as is going to really serve you. It's just like, okay, I get the feeling like it is scary. And I agree with you. It is. And you've got to go first and the universe follows. So like you said, you make the space by hiring these people, spending and investing time, 3 months to train them so that at the same time, because you've made that decision and you've made that jump, at the same time, these amazing, let's say, big blue whale clients are being attracted and looking at you like right now, even as we speak, because you made that decision. You become a match for them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think everything we've done in the past has just kind of given me reassurance for that exact concept. Like I remember when we first were looking at getting this office space and I was like, oh, I don't know. Like that's another monthly expense. Like, are we ready for that? And then sure enough, we solidified the space, we moved in. And then the amount of clients we attracted after moving into this space, because one, the visibility, we've got these bright purple awnings on the front that you can't miss. And I think just people took us seriously. I think, making these big moves shows your clients you're confident and you're going to be around for a while. And I think that's, sometimes what people need to see. I think you need to have confidence in yourself before a client can have confidence in you. So I think these big moves, like definitely scary, definitely uncomfortable, but I've learned to kind of get addicted to that feeling because I know that there's so much growth that comes with it. And I think just trusting your gut and your intuition too, of, does this feel like the right decision, and kind of, digging through the stress and the anxiety of it all, but like really like getting into your gut. Does this feel right? Kind of entertaining the opposite. Does it feel right to work from home for another year? And that felt even more uncomfortable because I knew that would, that wouldn't contribute to our growth. So moving into the office space is a really great example of it was scary, it was uncomfortable, but it brought so much growth. And that's the way that I look at these next moves too, of like hiring 2 new people. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but it's showing I have confidence in the brand and in our business, and that, the clients will feel that too. And, we'll book a huge client and then the space will be filled pretty soon and we'll have to hire again. So
do it all over again.
Yeah.
So what's great about your example, because I know a lot of people listening can relate to the feeling of being uncomfortable. It's just about actually having the courage to make the bold move, like you said. And what I've noticed with my clients are the ones that continue to make the bold move time after time again. From the outside, it looks risky, but they're willing to do it and put those earmuffs on and know that they go first and the universe follows. And the reason why it feels uncomfortable, as you know, from our lesson 7 in thinking of results, is it's just that the way that they currently see themselves and the way that they're like in your example, the way that you were operating before investing in that building was not a match for the
Mhm.
person that runs a business with a storefront like yours. And so, of course, it's uncomfortable because you aren't doing it. And if it was comfortable, it wouldn't be a big enough move to create the growth that's necessary for you to attract the bigger, better, more clients. And so when we understand, okay, well, it's just that the way that I've been thinking, the way that I've been operating, working from home isn't a match for that. So I've got to jump and make that bold move so that I can actually become the person who runs a storefront
Yeah,
like that. It has a
totally.
beautiful building. Yeah.
Totally. And I think when you are, when I decided to make that jump to get the storefront, even before then, like I've became more confident in myself through this work that I like rarely turn to like outside opinions anymore. It's very much like, you know, kind of turning inward when I'm making a decision now. It's like, hey, what's my gut saying? Because
Yeah.
your intuition knows, better than anyone else's opinion can allow. And I think I really like turn inward of like what feels right. There's a few people that whose opinion I really value, but I always think again, if someone's going to give me opinions, do I want the results that they have right now? And if not, I wouldn't like, earmuffs with their opinions. And I think that's so important is like, when you've made a decision, stick with that and don't let the outside opinions kind of impact you, especially if they have results that you don't want.
Yeah, that's so good. And understanding that once you've made the decision that you've automatically then calibrated to that energy of the next level growth.
Yes.
You start showing up different because now you're Madison that has a storefront,
Yeah,
with a big
totally.
purple audience.
Yeah.
So like even how you walk down the street, like that decision actually changes the way you show up in the world.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's huge. Yeah, so good. So, where do you see yourself going in the next, let's say, I mean, 3 to 5 years, like after growth, after two, seems like it's too long to ask you. So, let's say, like in the next 6 to 12 months, where do you see yourself going and where are you taking this company?
Yeah, so I want to continue to expand our current location. I think there's a lot of local businesses that are popping up that we can help. And I think there's a lot of businesses that, will turn to wanting some help with marketing and branding or social media marketing and implementing that. So I definitely want to continue growing our current location. I do have an expansion plan to grow outside of Chatham Kent while protecting kind of our mission with Chatham Kent and making sure that we're not sacrificing that why. So my expansion plan is to replicate what we're doing in Chatham Kent, focusing on growing small local businesses, but replicate that model in other small communities, but far enough away that it doesn't compete with our Chatham Kent clients. So that's my expansion plan. And everyone's kind of already always asked. I don't think I've ever like talked about it on a podcast before. This is kind of like my non-official
Yeah,
official announcement.
love it.
Yeah, but that's kind of the expansion plan because people always ask, like, Maddie, how are you going to grow? Like, you're limiting yourself by only giving to Chatham Kent and only doing one client per industry. But I've always been like, nope, I've got a plan. Don't you worry. And I think there's so much value in finding a niche and you can't be everything to everyone. So finding, who you really want to give yourself to and who you want to provide an impact and value to. And that's for us, we really love working with small local businesses and small community businesses. And we want to just keep doing that and just find other smaller communities and do the same thing that we're doing within Chatham Kent, but within smaller communities across Ontario. So I'd love to have two additional locations by the end of next year. So that's a really big goal that we want to start working towards is having 3 total locations would be kind of like my 1 year plan.
That's amazing. And as you were saying that, one of the clients that we had here in our Success Society a few years ago, she had a business that served the local community. It was very much about like local, it was more in the food industry. But she, through this work, ended up franchising. So it was a very similar, perhaps, model to what you're thinking of. And finding a local cheerleader in the communities that she wanted to expand to. And so
Mhm.
she mentors and helps them, but she like just basically franchised out her model and sells it now. And she's incredible what she's
That's
done. But I can
amazing.
connect you with her as well. That might give you some
Yeah.
ideas on
That's-
how to do that. I just got a vision as you were sharing of like you being the center point. So like right now in Chatham, Kent, and you're the cheerleader for you and your staff are the cheerleaders for that community. And it just goes out, it branches out so that that community is thriving, and then like doing it in
Yeah,
each.
exactly.
Yeah, that's very
Exactly it. And that's my goal. So my long-term goal, and I've definitely thought all these things. So you don't like 5 years out isn't too far to think.
perfect.
I want to have 10 locations myself. And then at that point, I want to franchise. So I want to start selling the training systems that we have, the, internal systems, operations, all of that, and basically just like start franchising kind of our formula to success with social media marketing in small communities.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you are creating the hubs, testing it out first
Mhm.
as well. That's very cool.
Yeah, I was honestly my goal for 2023 was to start those two additional locations, but I really wanted to fine tweak what we're doing in Chatham Kent, make sure that the formula is essentially ready and the best it possibly can be before replicating it. And we've also grown like a lot here that I more than I was anticipating. Like I was, expecting to hit this ceiling. And then that's where I thought, okay, we're gonna need to expand. We're gonna have to, because I'm so growth oriented, there's no way I'd be able to cap it at Chatham Kent and stop there. Like I've always thought, okay, what's next? But we've grown so much here. So we've been so busy. I haven't even had the time to, look at starting another location. And that's where we made some changes recently where I hired 2 new people. I've actually promoted someone internally to be a leader for this location. And this is now going to kind of put everything in place to allow me to start these additional locations and kind of just expand our impact beyond Chatham Kent while still protecting Chatham Kent and our original mission.
Yeah, I love it. The truth is there's so many industries within Chatham, Kent. We think that there's a cap, but there's really not. There's
Yeah.
product programs or service-based industries that you can support. And the reality is we're all on social media and that's how we interact. So I think you're probably just getting started there. There's
Yeah.
so much growth
Yeah.
that
I
can
agree.
happen. Yeah, that's so good. So I have a question about thinking of results, since that's how we got connected, is you studying that through your mom. What's your favorite lesson or your favorite topic that Bob Proctor has taught you through that program?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's lesson 6. What is lesson 6? Remind me.
Self-image.
Self-image, yes,
Yeah,
100%. I think self-image is so important, and that's the one you start with, right?
that's
Kind of
the well, yeah, we do in our community. I'm sure your mom
okay.
does too. Yeah.
Yes, so that's the way that we started it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think self-image is so important. I don't even think I realized how important self-image was before this work. Is, the way you see yourself is the way you show up and the way the rest of the world sees you. And just, I think it was super empowering to think, okay, I can be any version of me that I want to be. Who do I want to be? Like what feels the most me? What feels the most aligned? Who is my higher self? Like what's the ultimate version of me? And I think that was, I never really had those thoughts until diving into this work. And I found it so empowering that like I can be anyone I want to be. I can do anything I want to do. And it all kind of starts with your self-image. And I love the whole act as if, like that is integrated into every single day now, just, acting as the goal achieved version as you, acting as your highest self, showing up today, as your highest self. And then the way that the world just kind of like, your goals come so much quicker when you think about yourself that way and you show up before you're ready and you jump before you're ready. Yeah, I think that that's been, so important. And just like, not only self-confidence, but self-belief, I think is really something that's came from that lesson too of, I think I've always been confident. I've always known I can do anything I set my mind to, but I haven't always had the self-worth to know I deserve these things. And I think that's a really big piece that came from thinking into results, and all of this content is just, knowing, yes, I can do anything I set my mind to, but I deserve it. And I deserve, all the blessings that are coming to me and that have come to me. And that's like, that's still something I'm kind of working on, but I think that's been a really big takeaway from it all.
Yeah, that's not necessarily an easy one, right? Because the worth gets wrapped up in so much. We tie worth to what we're doing. We can tie worth to money.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good. Um, you said something about self-image that really resonates with me. And what I've seen is as a person shows up and they act as if, and they show up before they're ready. It's interesting how the world has a way of molding itself around that image. So literally, it's like the outside world changes
Mhm.
reflect that image that you're holding of yourself. So the people that you interact with, the opportunities that get presented, there's no way that they'd be there if you were in your current self-image. It's really
Totally.
because you started acting as if that you've attracted that to you. I love experiencing that for myself. It's like when something comes, I'm like,
Of
of course.
course. Yeah, I looked at myself different. I showed up differently. And I think it's cool too because of course, like your self image is going to waver. It's not always going to be strong 100% of the time for me, anyways. But it's interesting because I've definitely made a conscious effort to step into this new self image of and really being like the best version of myself and the most me version of myself. But it's been cool because I've gotten a lot of feedback from like friends and family of like just things they'll say to me of like the way that they see me. And I'm like, oh, really? Like it's kind of like a good reminder on the days that I'm, that your own self-image is wavering. It's like, okay, like, no, like they see me that way. Like some of my friends will say, oh yeah, you just, give off that you've got your shit together. And I'm like, wait, really? Like amazing. Or, you give off luxury. One of my friends said, I'm like, wait, really? I'm like, wow. Okay. Like, I'm glad there's a little like connection here, but between like who I want to be and how I'm showing up and still have work to do. But it's reassuring when your outside world kind of gives you that feedback on the days that you might be wavering a little bit. It's like, okay, no, like I am giving that off and I want to continue giving off like the best version of me.
I love when people echo words that are in your self-image script. So maybe it's around luxury or presenting yourself a certain way, and then all of a sudden they start talking to you about like talking about you that you're already that. That's how you know it's working.
Yeah.
You know, it's that feedback. That's awesome. Good. Well, what is something that you'd like to leave the listeners for like a tip or a tool that, you know, they're listening. Here you are, 22 years old. You started this business. You're now 25, over $500,000 in revenue, about to expand into new locations within the next 12 months, and then 10 locations within the next few years, and then franchising. What do you have to say to that listener? Maybe she's, not 25, maybe she's in her 50s and wondering if she can do this. Or perhaps it's a young person like yourself that is inspired. What are your last words for them?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is just jump before you feel ready. I think that's, the biggest thing that I did is I did not feel ready when I started this business. I had all these narratives in my head that I needed a certain amount of experience or a certain amount of, I need to be a certain age or whatever the narrative is you're telling yourself. We all have it. And I think just like jumping before you're ready. And I think it's easier to do it when you're younger because it's more acceptable to fail when you're young. But I
Mm.
think why can't you have that same mentality if you're 50 or 60? Of just go for it and kind of put yourself in your 20-year-old's body of like, okay, I would go for it and not be scared to fail because I'm young. But why is there this societal pressure that you can't fail when you're 50? Like, just have that mentality of like, okay, there's never too late to start over. You're never too young to start over. You're never too old to start over. Just go for it and jump before you're ready and be okay to fail because that's where all the lessons come and where all the growth comes from.
Yeah, and I often think that like there's no way that we're failing unless we're quitting. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a
Yes.
quitter. So
That's a quote I have like screenshotted is like, I will not fail or I can't fail if I don't quit.
yeah,
And I always remember that. It's like, okay, I'm not a failure because I haven't quit. I'm not quitting. And as long as you don't quit, you're not a failure. It's just
yeah.
lessons.
Keep going and growing and know that that's the name of the game because there's no place really to get to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Growth
Literally.
over our
Yeah.
whole life. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Madison. Congratulations on your success and the impact that you're making in Chatham, Kent with the businesses that you're serving. And even the ones that you're not, like understand that that they're watching you, and you are such a huge example to them for what's possible. So you may not be doing their marketing at the moment. However, you are inspiring them and making an impact in a different way. And it's through that impact that our revenue goes up. It might not be directly from that other real estate agent, but that because you're helping this real estate agent, but those others are watching and you're impacting them in another way. So there's that psychic income comes around to money. So I'm really proud of you. I really am inspired by you personally. And I look forward to watching you grow in the next few months.
Thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you.